It began with a whisper, not a sound, not a voice, just a faint pulse from the darkness of space. It was so small, so weak, that it almost vanished inside the noise of the universe. But deep in Earth's orbit, a lonely satellite caught it. The signal was short, sharp, like a heartbeat in the void. For weeks, scientists studied it. The numbers were strange. It wasn't random. The pattern repeated every 30 seconds, like someone tapping their fingers on a table tap. 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 No one knew what it meant. Was it a natural cosmic echo? Or was something alive out there? In the year 2145, Earth was no longer just a blue in the dark. Humanity had colonies on Mars, mining stations on asteroids, and spaceports on the moon. People thought they had seen everything. But this signal, this single steady pulse, was different. It felt like a message. Messages mean someone is sending them. Inside the United Earth Command's war room, the atmosphere was tense. Admiral Vance stared at the holographic display. It could be nothing, he said, though his tone was flat. Dr. Lien, head of the Astrophysics Division, shook. Her head, no. Nothing in space repeats with this precision, not unless it's made by hand or claw. The military had its own theory. They thought the signal might be a challenge, or worse, an alien warning. And in times of uncertainty, they believed in showing strength. That's when the word came down from the Defense Council. Project Leviathan was to be activated. Project Leviathan was humanity's most dangerous weapon. It wasn't a missile. It wasn't a laser. It was a railgun so large it had to be built in orbit around Earth, 2 kilometers long. Powered by a fusion core the size of a skyscraper, it could throw a metal slug at 10% of the speed of light. One shot could punch through an asteroid or a starship. The public had never seen it. Until now. When the news leaked, the world erupted. Some celebrated it as the shield of humanity. Others feared it would make Earth a target. After all, if humanity could build this, maybe the galaxy would take notice. In a small lab in Geneva, Code and her team decoded more of the signal. It wasn't words, not in any language they knew. But the pattern shifted slightly every day, as if it was reacting. "Admiral," she said over the secure line, "I think it's listening to us." The military didn't wait. They announced a test firing. The target was a harmless asteroid passing near Mars. Cameras across the solar system locked on as the countdown began. 5, 4, 3. Somewhere, in a dark control room, a young technician whispered, "We shouldn't be doing this." The shot was blinding. A streak of white fire ripped through the blackness. The asteroid shattered into a spray of glowing dust. The world cheered. The military declared the test a success, but Dr. Leon didn't cheer, because in her headphones, she heard the signal. It had stopped, completely. Across the galaxy, far beyond the reach of human eyes, something moved. In the orbit of a dying red star, an ancient machine stirred. In a nebula filled with blue gas, a cluster of alien ships turned their sensors toward a small yellow sun. And in the shadow of a cold planet, a single dark object shifted its course toward Earth. On the third day after the firing, strange static appeared across Earth's communications networks. At first, it was dismissed as solar interference. But then, the static began to form patterns, brief shapes, almost like symbols. Admiral Vance ordered full-spectrum scans of the outer solar system. On the screens, faint and fuzzy, appeared a shadow. It was hiding near Neptune's rings. No known ship was that large. No known ship was that silent. "Do we fire again?" one general asked. The room went quiet. No one wanted to be the one to answer. That night, Dr. Leanne couldn't sleep. She sat in her apartment looking at the stars through the window. Somewhere out there, she thought, someone had been whispering to the dark. And today, humanity had whispered back. But she had a feeling they had not whispered to friends. 3 weeks earlier, the signal had been gentle, curious now. If you listened carefully, there was something else in the static, a deeper rhythm, a slower, heavier beat, like footsteps, and they were getting closer, far beyond Pluto. Where the sun was only a faint white star in the distance, A single ship floated in the dark. It was not human. Its hull was black as shadow, built to drink in the light. It had no running lights, no heat trail, no signal. For weeks it had been hiding in the cold, watching. It was small by galactic standards, a scout vessel, but even so. It was larger than any human warship. The alien pilot sat inside, its thin hands moving over crystal controls. Its eyes glowed faintly in the darkness of the cockpit. Every movement was careful. Every sound was quiet. This mission was not to attack. Not yet. Its job was to watch humanity. To record. To listen. The shot from Earth's great railgun had been visible from here, even from this impossible distance. The alien had felt the tremor through subspace, a ripple that spread like a drop in still water. No one in the galaxy had fired a weapon like that in 1,000 years. No one dared, until humans did. The alien tapped a small panel. A hologram bloomed in the air. It showed the solar system planets turning slowly around their sun. Thin blue lines marking satellite orbits, red dots marking military craft. The alien zoomed in on Earth. Cities glowed bright against the dark oceans. Ships moved in and out of orbit. Humanity looked busy, confident, loud. The alien's orders were simple. Do not reveal yourself. Do not interfere. Transmit everything to the Council. But there was a problem. The railgun shot had done something unexpected. The ripple in subspace had not only been detected by the alien's empire, it had been felt by many others. Dangerous. Others, the galaxy was now listening. When the galaxy listened, it did not listen kindly. Back on Earth, the strange static was getting worse. Communications satellites failed one by one. In the war room, Admiral Vance stared at the data with a growing frown. "This is not random failure," he said quietly. "Something is removing our satellites." "By who?" asked a general. Vance didn't answer, because he already knew the truth, whoever it was. They were good enough to do it without being. Dr. Lian had noticed something else. The original pulse, the mysterious signal, was gone. But the static replacing it was not meaningless noise. When slowed down, the pattern was clear. It was counting. In the alien scout ship, the pilot finished the report and sent a narrow beam transmission into deep space. Code humans could never break. Somewhere far away, a giant listening post caught the signal and sent it to the Galactic Council. In a great chamber under the light of 3 suns, alien voices argued in 100 languages. The Railgun had made humanity known. Some wanted immediate destruction. Others argued they should first measure humanity's courage. The scout ship received new orders, marked the weapon, marked the builders. Days later, Earth's long-range telescopes spotted something, a tiny glints of light near the moon. At first they looked like space debris.
Harmless.
But the glints were moving in perfect formation. No one could identify them. No one knew their origin. Admiral Vance made a choice. "We will prepare for another railgun test," he told his staff. "If they're watching, let them see what it happens when they push too close." But Dr. Lian objected. "Admiral, every shot is like a flare in the dark. If we keep firing, we're not just warning them. We're calling the whole galaxy to our door." Vance looked at her for a long time, then said, "Doctor, I think they're already at the door." In the silent black beyond Neptune, the alien scout tilted its head as it watched Earth's massive weapon rotate into firing position. It recorded every movement, every heat signature, every weakness. Then, without a sound, it began to move, slowly, toward home. It was done watching. The time for whispers was ending. The time for voices was coming. And soon, those voices would be very loud. The alien scout was gone. No one saw it leave. No one heard it. But Earth could feel its absence like the air after a predator has passed by. For 2 weeks, the solar system was quiet. Too quiet. Cargo ships moved between planets. Miners worked. The asteroid belt, life went on.
No.
But in the background, there was a thin, constant feeling that something was wrong. Dr. Lian still listened to the static every night. The counting had stopped. Now the pattern had changed again, long bursts. then silence. She didn't know what it meant, but she knew one thing. It wasn't random. Someone was sending a new message. One morning, Admiral Vance was called into the Deep Space Monitoring Room. A young technician pointed to the screen. "Sir, something's moving near Neptune's shadow again?" Vance's eyes narrowed. "Is it debris?" "No, sir. Too big. And it's not reflecting sunlight." The image was faint, blurry, just a darker patch against the darkness of space. It was moving slowly, deliberately. Whatever it was, it didn't want to be seen. Vance called the Defense Council. "We have an intruder. It's not ours. It's close enough to be trouble." The council debated for hours. Some wanted to send fighters. Others said it could be a natural object, an unknown moon or rock. But deep down, no one truly believed that. The railgun had been fired only once, and already the shadows had begun to move. Meanwhile, in the mining colony on Triton, strange things began to happen. Workers reported seeing a glint in the sky, too high for a drone, too still for a star. Power outages swept through the colony. Security cameras failed. In the silence, some swore they heard a faint hum, like a swarm of insects far away. Dr. Leon connected the events. "Admiral, the pattern in the static changes every time we lose a satellite or a station, has a blackout. Someone is mapping our network. They're not attacking yet, they're learning." That night, something appeared in the data feeds. A short, sharp burst of energy from the outer solar system. It was aimed not at Earth, but away from it. Vance leaned over the console. "Where is that going?" The technician's voice was low. "Sir, it's going toward another star." It wasn't a weapon. It was a signal. Intruder wasn't just watching it, was calling someone. The decision was made. The Leviathan railgun would be readied for a second test. Officially, the target was another asteroid. Officially, the real target was the shadow near Neptune. But when the day came, the shadow was gone. The scanners picked up nothing. No movement, no heat. It had vanished completely, as if it had never been there. Vance stared. At the empty space? "They were here," he muttered. "Now they're gone. Which means they've already done what they came for." 3 days later, a small, fast-moving object crossed the path of Mars. It didn't slow down. It didn't answer hails. It was too small to be a ship, too fast to be debris. Within hours, it was gone into the darkness, heading out of the system. "Doctor." Leon watched it go on the tracking screens. "Ain't that," she said quietly, was the messenger. Somewhere far beyond the reach of human eyes, the messenger would arrive. And when it did, it would speak of a small blue world, the weapon that could shake the stars, light years away, a chamber older than any human nation. The Galactic Council gathered. It was not a single room, but a floating cathedral of crystal and metal, orbiting a dying blue giant star. The air shimmered with alien languages, clicks, roars, pulses of light, and deep tones that made the floor vibrate. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the seats. Some floated in tanks of liquid. Others moved on dozens of thin legs. At the center, a sphere of white light projected the image of Earth. Next to it was a recording. The blinding flash of the Leviathan railgun's shot, the asteroid shattering, the ripple across subspace. "This," said the Speaker of the Council, a tall figure of living crystal, "was done by a pre-contact species. They are called humans." A wave of sound swept the chamber. Many had never heard the name before. Others had. Anan did not look pleased. A voice like boiling water spoke.
"Hi."
"No world below Tier 3 is allowed to create weapons of this magnitude. It is an act of war." Another deeper voice rumbled. "Perhaps they do not know our laws. Perhaps it was only a test." The delegate from the Zoroth Empire, creature with skin like molten silver, leaned forward. "A test." That pulse reached the edges of the galaxy, disturbed 5 trade lanes. It woke the sleepers of Morak. "Do you call that a test?" Silence fell as an old, blind alien in a wheeled sphere clicked its claws. "I have read their history," it said slowly. "Humans do not build weapons for balance. They build them." To win, the chamber split into 2 camps. One demanded Earth's immediate destruction before it could grow stronger. The other argued to wait, to learn, to see if humans might be useful allies or pawns. Finally, the speaker raised a crystal arm. We will not strike, yet we will test them first. A low hum of agreement and disagreement rolled through. The heir of the test would not be a war fleet, not yet. Instead, a single object would be sent to their system, something to measure their defenses, something to see if humans were brave or afraid. Far from the council, in a dark shipyard under a blood-red sun, engineers began building the probe. It was not small. It was not harmless. It was made of alloys no human had ever touched, filled with machines that could adapt to any attack. It would not destroy Earth, lest Earth failed the test. Back in the solar system, the quiet was breaking. Long-range scanners caught sight of something near the edge of the Oort cloud. It was not moving fast. It was not hiding. It was simply coming in the war room. Admiral Vance studied the grainy images. "What is it?" asked one of the generals. Vance didn't answer right away. He looked at Dr. Liane, who stood by his side. She shook her head. "It's not an asteroid, and it's not one of ours." Over the next week, the object moved closer. It passed Pluto, then Neptune, then Uranus. Every telescope on Earth watched it. It was huge, 2 kilometers wide, with smooth, perfect sides. No windows, no lights, no sound. Finally, it stopped just outside the moon's orbit. The world held its breath. Messages were sent in every human language. The object never replied. It simply floated, a silent visitor, waiting. The president asked, "Do we fire?" Admiral Vance looked at the image of the Leviathan railgun on his screen. He thought about the first shot, the ripples it had caused, the shadows that had come after. "No," he said, "not yet." Deep down he knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen them, and now it had reached out a hand. The question was whether that hand was offering a greeting or closing into a fist. For 3 days, the object floated outside the moon's orbit. It didn't move. It didn't spin. It simply hung there in the darkness, silent as stone. Earth's governments sent message after message, radio waves, laser transmissions, even old Morse code. There was never a reply. Admiral Vance stayed in the command center day and night, watching it on the big screens. Dr. Liane was there too, studying every change in the object's faint energy readings. "This thing isn't dead," she said quietly. "It's waiting." On the morning of the 4th day, without warning, the object spoke. Not in an alien language, not in a strange code. In perfect, clear English. "Your weapon shakes the stars. Do you understand what you've done?" The room froze. No one spoke. The words repeated, exactly the same. Vance leaned forward toward the microphone. "This is Admiral Vance of the United Earth Command. Identify yourself." Silence. Then again, "Your weapon shakes the stars. Do you understand what you've done?" The message played every hour. It didn't answer questions. It didn't threaten. It simply repeated that one line over and over, like a teacher waiting for a student's answer. On the 2nd day, strange things began to happen. One by one, satellites went dark. At first, engineers thought it was a malfunction. Checked the orbits. The dead satellites weren't scattered randomly, they were all part of Earth's early warning system. Dr. Liane noticed another pattern. Each satellite failure happened exactly 5 minutes after the message repeated. "They're not just watching us," she said. "They're stripping our defenses, slowly on purpose." In cities across the world, people gathered in public squares to watch the giant object through telescopes. News channels ran non-stop coverage. The internet filled with theories. Some said it was a peace envoy. Others swore it was a weapon. That night, something else happened. The object began to glow, not brightly, just a faint blue light at its center, like a heartbeat in the dark. The president called an emergency meeting. "Admiral, if this is a weapon, we cannot wait for it to fire first." Vance shook his head. "If we attack without understanding, we may start a war with whoever sent it. And if they can park this thing in our orbit without challenge, They can do far worse. But the pressure was building. Military leaders wanted action.
Politicians
wanted answers. The public wanted safety. Then came the final straw. In the early hours of the next morning, an unknown craft, small, black, and fast detached from the object and entered Earth's atmosphere. No weapons, fire, no warning. It moved like a shadow, heading toward the Pacific Ocean. Every radar on the planet tracked it until it vanished into the waves. Within hours, seismic sensors picked up a massive splash deep beneath the ocean's surface. Something huge had been dropped into the water. Vance slammed his hand on the table. Enough. We track it. Prepare Leviathan. If they want to test us, they'll see exactly what humans can do. Dr. Leanne stared at the screen, the blue glow of the object reflected in her eyes. They're not asking if we understand what we've done, she whispered. They're asking if we're ready to face what comes next. Somewhere in the dark ocean, machines were waking, and the real test had begun. The Pacific Ocean was calm that morning. From space, it looked like an endless sheet of blue. But beneath the surface, something moved. Something alien. Naval sensors first picked it up as a faint vibration. Then, one by one, sonar buoys began transmitting strange readings, shapes moving in perfect formation. Hundreds of meters below, they weren't whales, they weren't submarines, weren't anything Earth had seen before. Admiral Vance stood. Over the holographic map in the command center, small red markers bloomed across the ocean, spreading outward from a single point where the unknown craft had entered the water. They're not coming toward land, a technician reported. They're spreading out like a net. On the deck of the destroyer UN Sentinel, Captain Reyes peered through his binoculars. The sea looked normal, calm waves, pale morning light, but sonar said otherwise. The alien shapes were closing in beneath them. Then one surfaced. It was not a ship. It was not a living creature. It was a machine-smooth black metal, the size of a small house, shaped like a teardrop. No windows, no lights. Only a single glowing ring on its side, spinning slowly. The crew stared. No one fired. The machine floated for a moment, then slid back under the water without a sound. Minutes later, the readings multiplied. Dozens of similar machines appeared across the Pacific. Some surfaced briefly, some stayed deep. None attacked, Dr. Leanne studied. The data from her station? They're mapping us, she said. Not just our ship's hour, sonar ranges, our communication lines, our response time. This is an assessment. The president's voice came over the secure channel. The people are demanding answers. Are we under attack or not? Vance's jaw tightened. Not yet. We're being measured. And I don't like what happens after the measuring is done. By evening, the first incident occurred. One of the machines approached a deep-sea mining platform west of Hawaii. The platform's security drones moved to intercept without orders. From command, within seconds, the alien machine released a pulse of energy. The drones shut down instantly and sank to the sea floor. The machine did not destroy the platform, simply moved on. 2 hours later, another machine entered the waters near a major naval base. It ignored every warning shot, passed directly over a submarine, and vanished into the deep. This is deliberate, Dr. Leanne said in the war room. They're showing us what they can do without actually doing it. It's like they're warning us politely before they stop being polite. The next morning, the alien machines began moving toward a single point directly above one of the deepest trenches on Earth. Naval forces surrounded the area, but the machines ignored them. Something was down there, something they wanted. Admiral Vance had had enough. He ordered Leviathan to move into firing position. The massive orbital railgun began rotating, targeting the ocean site. Dr. Leanne grabbed his arm. If you fire, every listening ear in the galaxy will hear it. You'll call them all here. Vance's eyes were hard. Doctor, they're all ready. Here, in orbit, Leviathan's systems charged. Energy levels climbed. The slugger rod of dense metal was loaded into the chamber. The firing countdown began. 5, 4, 3. In the Pacific, the alien machines all stopped moving. Every single one. The glowing rings spun faster, pulsing in perfect unison. 2, 1. The shot lit up the sky. From orbit, a beam of pure kinetic energy ripped down toward the ocean. It struck the trench with the force of a meteor, boiling the sea into white steam. The shockwave flattened waves for miles. When the water cleared, the machines were gone. The command center erupted in cheers. But Dr. Lian didn't celebrate. She was staring at a different screen, long-range sensors. They didn't retreat, she said softly. They dove deeper. They're still here. Somewhere in the blackness of the trench, something answered the shot. A single pulse of energy spread outward, not loud, not violent, but powerful enough to be detected in deep space. Far away, ships were listening, and now they knew humanity had chosen to fight. The second railgun shot was not just a weapon. It was a shout in the cold between the stars. That shout traveled farther than light. It rolled through subspace, shaking ancient machines from their sleep. It rattled the bones of fleets hidden in dark nebulae. It woke the listeners, and they listened well. In the galactic core, the council received the news within hours. The recording was short, a brilliant flash from a small blue planet, the kinetic ripple tearing through subspace, and then silence. The speaker of the council's crystal form pulsed with light. They have fired again. Not at us, but in defiance of our test. Oh, the molten-skinned Zorath, delegate hissed. They destroyed the probe's first wave. Humans are aggressive, dangerous. Another voice, like wind through stone, spoke from the shadows. They are not dangerous. They are interesting. Within the shadow of a dead moon, a war fleet began to move. In another system, merchants rerouted their ships away from the human sector. And somewhere deep in the black, mercenary guilds began sharpening their blades. Back in the solar system, the ocean over the trench was calm again. But the alien machines were gone, not destroyed, just vanished into the deep. Dr. Lian was not. Comforted, she stood in Leviathan's observation bay, staring at Earth below. "We've told the galaxy we can fight," she said to Admiral Vance. "Now they'll want to know how far we're willing to go." Vance didn't reply. He knew she was right. The first sign came a day later. Deep space sensors picked up a faint signal near the edge of the system. Not one signal dozen small ships, moving fast, not on any known trade route. "Scouts," Vance muttered. "They're coming to look at us with their own eyes." 2 days later, a civilian cargo ship passing through the asteroid belt reported seeing strange lights following it. By the time a patrol reached the area, there was nothing there, only drifting rocks. At the same time, Mars colony satellites detected a new object in orbit around the red planet. It wasn't moving. It wasn't broadcasting. It was simply there. The president called an emergency meeting. "We cannot be surrounded in our own system," she said. "We need to prepare for war." And so humanity did. Shipyards on Mars worked without rest. Defense satellites were armed. Moon bases were fortified. Most importantly, Leviathan began building siblings to new railguns. Smaller, but still powerful enough to be heard across. The stars the world watched the construction live on news feeds. To many, it was a symbol of strength. To others, it was a sign of fear. One evening, as Vance was reviewing fleet deployment plans, Dr. Lian came to him with new data. "Admiral, the original signal, the one we detected months ago?" "Back." Vance frowned. "Back? From where?" She hesitated. "Everywhere. Multiple sources. As if dozens of transmitters are repeating it. It wasn't just the council anymore. The whole galaxy was speaking in the same pulse. Some were calling allies. Others were calling hunters. In the weeks that followed, strange ships were spotted. Near the system's edge, none came closer than Neptune. None fired a shot. But their presence was enough to make the air on Earth feel heavier. Then, without warning, the object that had hovered near the moon for weeks powered up. Its blue glow brightened until it was almost blinding. Every radio frequency in the system carried its voice. "You have declared yourselves. The next move is no longer yours." The voice fell silent. The glow faded. And the galaxy waited. For a while, there was nothing. The object near the moon stayed dark. The alien machines in the ocean were gone. The strange ships near Neptune, drifted away into the void. Earth almost believed it was over. Almost, but the quiet was not peace. It was the kind of silence that came before a blade fell. Admiral Vance knew it. Dr. Leanne knew it. The military knew. It somewhere, far beyond the reach of human eyes, the galaxy was deciding what to do with them. In the war room, holograms of star maps glowed red with new reports. Faint traces of energy, mass shifts in distant systems, unusual movements in trade lanes. To the untrained eye, it meant nothing. To Vance, it meant only one thing. Fleets were moving. The president spoke in a voice that carried both fear and resolve. From this moment, all colonies and stations are on high alert. Shipyards will work without pause. Earth will not be caught unprepared. And so, humanity began to arm itself like never before. On Mars, the dry winds swept across Endless. Factories where the first sister Railgun to Leviathan was taking shape. On the moon, engineers dug deep into the regolith to hide missile batteries. In Earth orbit, new defense platforms rose like towers of steel, bristling with weapons. Civilians watched it all unfold on their screens. Some were proud, some were terrified. Many asked the question no leader wanted to answer: what if they come with more than we can stop? Dr. Leanne worked day and night, decoding fragments of intercepted transmissions. She couldn't understand the languages, but she could see patterns. The same three symbols kept appearing across multiple sources, always in the same order. When she showed Vance, he stared at them for a long moment. What do they mean? She swallowed. I think it's a location, far beyond Earth. In the empty dark between stars, something vast was forming. On the edge of a dying red nebula, hundreds of ships floated in silent formation. Some were sleek and silver, others were jagged and black. A few were so massive they blocked the light of distant suns. They came from different empires, different worlds, but they were all here for the same reason. They were waiting. No orders to attack had been given. Not yet. But the commanders on those ships watched the little blue planet from afar and calculated. They measured. They imagined. They planned on Earth. The final message came without warning. Out! It was short, cold, and carried on every frequency. You have woken the great game. Now survive it. In the Leviathan's control room, Vance stood with his hands clasped behind his back, staring out at the black beyond. We've built our walls, he said quietly, and we find out if they can hold. Dr. Leanne didn't look away from the stars. They won't just test our weapons, Admiral. They'll test who we are. Above them, the railgun hung in orbit. Like a silent guardian. Below, Earth's lights glittered against the night, somewhere far away. The first of the alien fleets shifted into motion. The storm was coming, and humanity was ready to meet it.